Welcome to Tuesday's Tips and Tools brought to you by the VSU Center for eLearning. Today we are looking at a BlazeVIEW feature that enables you to manage pacing and security in your course. A release condition is a prerequisite stipulation on items in your course. Release conditions can depend on a student's status with any of these items. You can attach release conditions to content, quizzes, assignments, discussions, and grade items. To access the release condition settings for a quiz, discussion, grade item, or assignment in the old assignment experience, locate the Restrictions tab. On that page, you can create and attach a new release condition or choose from ones that you've previously created. From a content item, use its drop-down arrow to select Edit Properties in Place. Then select Add Dates and Restrictions to reveal the Release Conditions area. If you are using the new assignment experience, the Release Conditions settings is located within the Availability Dates and Conditions section of the Assignment Settings page. Now that you know where to find release conditions in BlazeVIEW, let's dive into their benefits and some of the things to be cautious of. With release conditions, you can structure your course with a linear design and additional assessment security. You can also create custom learning paths with the content, activities, and assessments in your course. Please be aware that when one or more release conditions are attached to an item, that item is completely hidden from students until they meet the conditions. Release conditions override any availability dates on an item. However, thorough instructor communication can alert students. Also, be aware that once a user meets a release condition, the condition is cleared for that user and cannot be reset. Next, let's examine each of the benefits of release conditions in more detail. Linear design is a best practice for universal design for learning. Release conditions enable you to necessitate chronology in your course and assist students with pacing themselves. You can require students to work through module items in a particular order. This prevents them from skipping around in the course and missing key information. For example, you can require that students complete all of the items for a module in sequential order, or you can just require that students complete a certain activity before accessing their exam. Release conditions are a great way to bolster exam security. For example, you can require students to first complete a practice quiz, a respondus check, or access a set of instructions for an exam. Then you can ensure students retrieve a password themselves by releasing that password through the prerequisite activity. I will show you how to set up this type of release condition. Here we have a quiz list. I want students to complete this practice quiz first to retrieve a password for the module quiz. In the quiz settings of the practice quiz, select the Submission Views tab to edit the default view. Include the module quiz password here instead of the default text. Next, open the settings for the module quiz. Select the Restrictions tab. Add the release condition that students must complete the practice quiz first. Under Condition Type, I'll scroll to Quizzes, and I want them to have completed a quiz attempt on the practice quiz. On this Restrictions tab, you can also add and enter the desired password. You'll see that a release condition is in place if you have this icon here. A third way you can utilize release conditions in your course is by creating custom learning paths based off student groups. If you have existing groups in your course, you can easily release items to specific groups. Next, I'll show you how to release a quiz to just one group of students per this scenario. We have students in 4 groups, and each group is assigned a different case study quiz. This helps to limit the visual overload while students are working, so they are only able to access the items that you wish for their particular group to see. This also prevents them from submitting an incorrect assignment or accessing a quiz that they should not see. In the quiz settings, navigate to the Restrictions tab. Create a new release condition. Select Group Enrollment under Class List. Then, select the appropriate group. Now, only students in Group 1 can view this Case Study 1 quiz. This allows you to provide predetermined groups of students with different versions of assessments. Remember, release conditions override availability dates. Even if an item has started in terms of its start date, students must still meet any release conditions you've enabled before seeing the item. To communicate these release conditions to students, you can utilize the checklist tool in BlazeVIEW. Checklist items should be provided in chronological order to avoid confusion. The module description area is also a place where you can communicate any release conditions. Another method of communication is the use of submodules as visual placeholders. This is what you, the instructor, may see in a submodule. Here we have a Module 1 quiz review, then the Module 1 quiz, and then a final assignment for the module for students to complete. You can see that all 3 of these items have release conditions in place. However, for a student who has not completed or met any of those release conditions yet, this is what the student would see. The overall submodule is still visible within the content area, but there's nothing inside. This indicates to students that there will eventually be content items within this submodule box. Here's a tip. Notice the release condition on the Module 1 quiz review. If students receive a 70 or lower on the practice quiz, this supplemental resource will be made available to them before they take the Module 1 quiz. Best practice is releasing course content based on students' course performance. In summary, release conditions enable you to provide a linear course design with enhanced pacing, security, and custom learning paths. Best practices include communication through checklists and basing releases off of course performance. Please contact the Center for eLearning if we can help you with anything we've covered in this video or for any other assistance as you develop your courses.